rice farming without maybe urea.
Yes.
Remember, that urea, it requires gas. And the textile, because it's not only agriculture that requires urea. All textile companies require urea for dyeing, for their process. Is the major input. So even if you put it before now, the competition is between agriculture and textile industry and other chemical industry for using urea. So imagine we have this gas all over. With virtual pipeline, with real pipeline, the gas will be penetrated. And I've heard in the report as well, saying that, okay, there are a lot of issues with respect to handling of this gas. Because of that, the DPR, we try to create what we call MISDO, Minimum Industry Safety Training for downstream operators. And we try to create tracking. Any bulk buyer, identity should be known and tracked so that we have safe handling of this product. But the report is actually excellent.
Well, we have a couple of reports, tweets that I believe you react to, but let me take on Rear Admiral Dick. Within the ambit of ECOWAS, the Nigerian Navy is doing so much. Let's have an update regarding new vessels for the Nigerian Navy. And I remember vividly, recently, the Chief of Naval Staff was in United Arab Emirates for the key laying ceremony of a huge naval ship, which is very, very strategic to Nigerians' security, and also local content by the Navy, and also possibly MOUs on ECOWAS zone cooperation by the Navy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes. Actually, the Navy, in order to achieve mandate, realized the fact that we need to cooperate with both international partners and stakeholders, regional partners and stakeholders, and even stakeholders within the country. So, aftermath of the Code of Conduct brought about the zoning of the countries in the Gulf of Guinea. Now, you have the Zone E, which comprise Togo, Benin, Nigeria, and Niger Republic. Basically, we are expected to cooperate and police our environment. So what we have right now is trying to see how we can operationalize that Zone E. It's not been fully operationalized. The headquarters is in Benin Republic. We have an officer there, but we have not been able to sign the necessary documents where we'll donate ships to do patrols. We are ready in all respects. We're actually driving the process, but we have not arrived at where we think we should have been by now. But because you have the Zone E, you have the operational plan of Zone E, it's easier for us to share information. And because of other zones, like we can share information with almost all the countries in the west coast of Africa on what is happening in the maritime environment. If there's anything we need to ask them, we just ask them and they will reply and respond appropriately. And we too, when they make requests, we respond appropriately. Now, because we know that maritime crimes are international, because you have a ship, the ship could be owned by maybe, let me see if it's registered in Panama, owned by Greeks, captained by a Filipino, with some crews from other countries. The cargo could belong to different people. So, because of that, we ensure that our operations are.
Go ahead.
Our operations are.
The scholars are coming in.
Yeah. So our operations follow the due processes, and our outlook is international. Now, as maritime crimes are transnational and migratory, so we also ensure that we follow the trends. That is why before now, when we started the Total Maritime Spectrum Strategy in 2012, we actually did analysis. We had 5 spectrum 1 to 5, which is based on the distance from sea. Spectrum 1 covers the backwaters where you have more than 3,000 creeks. and those creek operations will require a lot of boats. So because of that, we do analysis, and we needed about 150 something at that time. But the Navy has been able to acquire over 250 boats. So we actually, and that one, we have about excess of 150. But then we still felt that the threats are increasing. So the Navy felt we still need about 200 boats. But those boats are actually for brown water and the backwaters. So that had helped us to contain the operation of criminals in the backwater. But then, when you contain that one, because it's migratory in nature, they are going outward. So we had to look at our process again and get the appropriate platform that will follow them outside. That is why we're now coming up with the idea of getting more boats like RIPS, which is rigid hull inflatable boats, which can transit from the brown waters to from the backwaters to brown water operation, just outside outside our coastline. Yeah. We expect within this year, we expect about 78 of RIPS and Riverine patrol boats. Those are vessels we're expecting this year. We still expect about 4 fast patrol boats, 24 meters and 38-meter boats. Then we expect 8 IPCs, that is inshore patrol boats. Then the hydrographic ship, we expect to join the fleet. Then on the last platform we expect this year is an helicopter, AW1 trainer helicopter. Okay. We expect it in the next 3 weeks to be in the country. What you talk about key laying. What the key laying actually did, Chief of Naval Staff went for the key laying of a landing ship tank. The landing ship tanks, we had 2 of them, Ophium and Ambe. Basically, those are the ones we used when we had the Liberian operations, where we used to land the troops. But since then, when we came back, years of use and some maintenance problem we had because of the problems we had with in the country, those vessels had been boarded, so we are not having any landing ship tanks. So even when we had to go to the Gambia, when there was a crisis there, we never had a landing ship tank, and we felt it's high time we get one. That is why we had to buy that. We had to pay for the landing ship tank, and we intend to acquire it, but it will not come into service this year, perhaps towards the end of next year. Okay.
We lost that update. Okay.
Then you talked about local content. Yes, because
local content.
It is directed from the president as much as possible, patronize homemade goods. Even these boats I'm talking about, the Riverine patrol boats, the 250 we're talking about are all locally built in Nigeria by a penal group of companies and another company called Siwa Group of Companies, basically. So those are but the Navy on its own have developed capacity to build seaward defense boat. The first one was built, then the second one's Caradoa. That was commissioned by the Mr. President himself. Then he laid the keel for the 3rd seaward defense boat, which is still ongoing, and we expect that boat to be completed to enter the service by the end of this year. So that is the position of local content. In addition to other things with regards to uniform materials, like we have El Jahab, that is basically giving us uniform accoutrement and uniform items. So we are always looking inward to see how much we can better the economy.
Okay. Well, you can be part of the conversation. Our Twitter handle is open, and we have a couple of tweets here before we take them. Tuesday Live is an audience participatory program through phone calls, through tweets, and also we went to town, went to the streets to get the line of thought of Nigerians regarding this issue. Let's take a listen to that, please.
If, there's an improvement of agriculture, whatever thing you produce, either you sell it in the market, you see people will buy the high cost, you can use it and feed children or whatever and send them to school and all those kind of things.
A product like gas is not made available and people resort to firewood. You know already that people go all over the place. Even the encouragement of having to plant trees, is really seriously bedeviled by such activities, because people will go scouting for, trees. to fall down, and the impact of deforestation altogether, to the environment. So it is something that should be encouraged. And I give kudos to the federal government who have deemed it very, very necessary that such a product is made available to Nigerians, to settle this issue.
So I would say Nigeria, they are doing better because of, I don't expect the patterning rice now. Nigeria will sustain by now. If you see how they are eating, the easy food in Nigeria is rice. But if Nigeria by now, there is no any problem. If you watch what is happening, you see the rice is coming down. It's a good thing for agriculture.
President have tried very well, because for the first time, Nigerians celebrate Christmas with local rice. That saved a lot of, almost billions of naira, translate to billions of naira in our GDP. Are you getting it? But then apart from that, you see other intervention by the CBN, the agro loan, this thing from the CBN to farmers. We also see the intervention in rice projects in some of the states like Kebbi, Sokoto, Zamfara. These some of the farms that we're going to them. And we see how most of the states also came out with agricultural programs that helps in different aspects of food production. We see the Ebony rice, we see the Akwa Ibom rice, we see the Cross River rice and all that. That translates hugely to our GNP. And to tell you that the government really wants to, the government were very serious with the diversification program. In the aspect of power, to be honest with you, there is an improvement.
Those were Nigerians bearing their minds on Mr. President's letter to Nigerians projecting into 2020. We're looking at part 2 of it sectorally. Well, a couple of tweets have come in. Like I said, you can be part of the conversation. Even when the phone lines are off, our Twitter handle is still open. First here, say, hello, presenter and the guest. We people of Northern Borno are mostly farmers. Let the federal government, Nigerian Armed Forces and other security agencies help our governor, Professor Zulum, to fulfill his promise. It's good to help Nigerian economy. We lost CBDA in Matt Baga. That maybe I'll allow Rear Admiral Dick to respond to that at the appropriate time. And the next one is from Ismail Mahmoud. Thank you, NTA, for this enlightenment program. People are benefiting a lot. However, I would just like to draw the attention of government to please create a policy that will benefit the common man, because if you look at the situation of this country, people are suffering. I allow that to Professor Abiodun. Mohammed Sani Haj, thanks so much for choosing this topic. Really, this program is creating awareness to us, because a lot of projects are being executed by the government, but because of corruption, it is not moving positively. Last but not least, Armajiri Abubakar Gargada. How will the passing of PIB enhance a positive impact in oil and gas sector? I think let me start from Rear Admiral Dick. The request by the person from Borno asking for the Nigerian Armed Forces to assist the governor in combating whatever is going through there. Reassurance.
First and foremost, the Armed Forces of Nigeria is concerned with the security of the country from both land, sea and air, and as the man should be aware, we have an operation going on in the northeast. And of course, the headquarters of the operation, that is Operation Lafia Dole, is in Maiduguri itself. So we'll do everything to ensure that the security situation in that area of the country is improved upon. And with that, I think the governor will be able to achieve his set objectives.
Okay, we have heard two key things that the Nigerian Navy is doing. We have heard so much about the harmonized standard operating procedure. What is it all about? And also, recently we hear so much about the campaign by the Nigerian Navy regarding crude oil theft and other criminalities on our waterways.
Let me take it from take the last question. When we say it's Nigerian Navy, so the Navy is for Nigerians.
True.
So whatever we're doing, we just felt that we should take Nigerians along. You know, we're not just going to operate in a vacuum. And the President's last letter is even very clear: protect the host community and the environment, and make sure you respect human rights as much as possible. You are professional. So we just felt, okay, let us bring everybody, let it be a whole of government approach. We shouldn't just work in isolation, so we should take along everybody within the community, our operational environment, so that they will help in the fight against those maritime crimes, because the criminals are not ghosts, they live among us. So if they provide information to the military or to the Navy as a service, the Navy will help them better. And also the fact that that they know those terrain much more than those who operate in there. We're not saying we don't know, but then that is where they live. And their facilities they have enjoyed there, and if they want to continue to enjoy a peaceful environment, they needed to work alongside the Navy. And in most times, the act of most of these criminals, like those who are involved in operation of illegal refineries, their act, of course, the efficiency of the contraption they have is less than 50%. So what this means is that if you have 1 liter of ragolis of crude oil which they are refining, it is only 50% of that crude oil that they can get AGO from, or PMS, and the rest will be thrown back to the environment as waste and will be contaminant of the environment. And to clean up that, or for you to rehabilitate that particular environment, will take more than 30 years. So that is why we felt we must take them along, and that is why we have all those jingles and all what's going on. It's been helping, because the last operation we had somewhere in Awoye, the community actually helped us, because the criminals ran into the community, and when we told them this is what is happening, they helped to direct us. So this is where they pass. They are not part of us, and we're able to round them up.
Okay.
Then
the
harmonized standard is called harmonized standard operating procedure on arrest and detention and prosecution of personnel. Actually, because I told you that the Navy is very open to collaborating, so all the stakeholders in the maritime environment were brought on board by the Nigerian Navy as far back as 2016. So in 2017, that procedure, which serves as a guideline for operating the maritime environment, was developed and was actually launched by the Vice President. So right now we're in the process of trying to, because it has passed the number of years it should take to be reviewed, so we're in the process of reviewing it to meet up with current realities in the maritime environment.
Okay. We'll still come back to you as time allows. The next one says, how will the passing of PIB enhance a positive impact in the oil and gas sector and sundry matters?
Yes, definitely the PIB will enhance oil and gas sector. It will improve transparency. It will improve the efficiency of the industry. Take, for example, as it is now, there's issue of community involvement of community in the involvement of good fiscal policy. Look at the in preparation of the PIB. I think, Mr. President, one of the key achievements that he recently made is signing into law the Deep Water Act, which will bring more value to the country, which will create that value that Nigerians really want. And I think that really helped in preparing the ground for petroleum industry bill. And the bill, as the government is putting it together, is how can we make this industry attractive? Take, for example, out of the 26 terminals, in preparation of getting the PIB, this administration, in the last first leg of it, enhanced the National Production Monitoring System. What is that? Creating enabling environment and system that will track every molecule that is produced, every molecule of crude oil that is produced, export, and get it over from the point that it is drill, completed, get to the terminal, and even push forward just in preparation of the PIB to get tracking of the loading of crude. And that is why when you pass the law, it is like, okay, there is an established ground by which the industry will now have a platform that people are coming. And the evidence of that is actually the recent FID. And more FIDs are coming. There are a lot of deep water projects. In addition to signing this new Deep Water Act, even though it gives government more tech, but still, people are looking at the country now as transparent, easy to do business, and it is clear, and the government tech is clear, it's not unclear like before. And when you pass the petroleum industry bill, you create an awareness for the entire world that this country is set to avail its own resources for the world to take advantage of.
Okay, thank you. Now, Prof, in reacting to the concern raised by Ismail Mahmoud regarding saying that government should do something that people are suffering, let me take you to the 2020 finance law. It's not a law, no more bill. I sent it by Mr. President. Now, strategically, quickly, let me take a few objectives, then you react to them. It has 5 strategic objectives. 1, promoting fiscal equity by mitigating instances of regressive taxation, reforming domestic taxation, supporting micro, small, and medium-sized businesses in line with the ease of doing reforms and raising revenues of government. It proposes, it can go on and on, but looking at this and what he's saying, does it lead to somewhere?
Yes, it does. Let me quickly say this. What people are focused on is the increase in the VAT from 5% to 7.5%. But people are not actually looking at the context of the increase, of the increment. The government is not saying that we are increasing VAT on all commodities. And remember that VAT is consumption-based. The government is saying that for the common man, your commodity, the VAT is not being, the VAT on them is not being raised. For instance, on food items, on food items, on education material, on pharmaceutical material, and the rest. The government is saying that the VAT on this is not being raised. That tells you that the government is also aware that there are certain commodities that once you increase the VAT on them, it's going to affect the common man. Now, if you read the detail, your cocoa, bread, rice, the VAT remains the same. That tells you that the government is aware of the plight of the common man. So, beyond that, there is another aspect of the law, which is the changes in custom and SI duties. People are only looking at the increase. What of those custom and SI duties that have actually been reduced? That is to help local manufacturers. Okay. And if it is well implemented, small-scale business people are also have been exempted from certain taxes. These are the people that provide employment that people need. Okay. So I don't think the finance law has overwhelming positive effect on the economy. Okay. It does not put any additional burden on the common man. Now, apart from that, remember.
But if the enlightenment is not very, very wide, there could be consumer behavior that will affect the common man negatively.
Yes, and that is where...
Regarding even the VAT from 5 to 7.5%.
That is where implementation comes in. some people can take advantage and then use that to exploit people. That is where government needs to monitor the implementation. Okay. But I quickly want to say this. Remember, we can link this to the question asked by is it Musa or Isa?
Isa.
That how will you create?
Within 4 years.
Within 4 years. But I want to link that to lifting people out of poverty. When you develop agricultural value chain, you provide enough infrastructure. And remember, I said it's going to give us, it's going to kickstart your industry, commerce, small-scale business activities. Automatically, jobs will be created. What is the source of poverty? It's because people lack access to employment. They lack access to income-generating activities. So when you open up those, there is infrastructure development, and then you put in place policy that give boost to manufacturing, to industry. Definitely, jobs will be created. People will be able to generate income, and then they'll be able to consume. And then, before you know it, their welfare will improve, and then they'll be lifted out of poverty. So, in a nutshell, both the letter of the president, the financing bill, has the two of them have prospect on boosting the economy, boosting welfare, creating jobs, opening up the economy.
Okay, before I take on Mohammed, Ibrahim Omar Mohammed says, may God help our country and the armed forces because they are really trying their best in the recent insurgency disturbing our nation. Prince Sikiru, I want to appreciate the government for our efforts in revamping the agri sector, but more work needs to be done in the power sector. You touched on that briefly.
Yes.
Can you expound more on this before we return this way?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. As far as issues of revamping in agriculture concern and the effort made so far and the need to do more, is that when you compare our population, as I said, and the need, the area of cultivation presently in the whole country, we have less than 150 hectares of palmland which is under cultivation, and we have a lot of untapped land, forests along all this. When you move along from Abuja, Kaduna, Kano, also Northwest State and Eastern State, we have Baji land. Besides the administration of President Babangida, who has NELDA before, that's the only institution that concentrates on land development. Some state governments are making effort. For instance, in my state, Chicago State, Bonabado has made an effort to clear, that is the issues of mechanization coming. We have to have mechanization to clear Baji land, to open land for people to go to farm. And we have to use, right now we have motorized planter, we have harvester, we have a threshing machine. We no need for a farmer to use his hand or this thing. A lot of them, in a day or in a few matter of hours, one can be able to harvest his 1 hectare or 2 hectares of farmland and thresh it in a clean way. A lot of wastages is recorded through local means of this thing. Now farming is business. If farming is a business, one has to know what the essence of getting more money out of the business. Because for this 1 hectare of farmland, an average 4 tons per hectare is recorded, almost about 52 bags. And averagely the price is 10,500. One can be able to get up to the tune of 546,000 out of it in a matter of 4 months. And one can do 2 seasons. And besides that 2 seasons, wet season and dry season, he can easily do other products like wheat, vegetables, and other this stuff. You see, now smallholders, farmers in rural areas can get more money with the help of government incentives in developed countries. America and other this thing, a lot of incentives are going into agriculture. Per farmer, they can spend over $10,000. But we have to consider our meager resources and our population. It's not possible in the country. We appreciate what the government is doing, but yet there is room for expansion. Open Baji land, create avenue. A caller who called from Maiduguri. I really cherish what Governor Professor Zulum doing. We regard Professor Zulum to be our general in civilian. Mufti. Yes, that is it. I want to emulate all my state government to emulate what Professor Zulum is doing. He's all there to provide leadership qualities to his people, which people cherish. My state government has invested a lot in procurement of these machineries and distribute. Unfortunately, some of it goes to political farmers, which are not real farmers. There's need to use traditional institutions to identify true farmers within society, whereby they can easily utilize that kind of machineries into use. And issues of land recovery, even when you use that contract farming, one can easily recover what he has invested, because he's a true farmer. When you invest, a true farmer does not want people in his house every day. If you go for one land recovery once, twice, you're the one who is going to take it back. I have 18 years working experience in Nigeria Agricultural Bank. I know loan administration what it's all about. But unfortunately, there is misplacement of priorities. And last time we held a meeting with CBN governor or stakeholders for Anko Broa. The facts and figures we tell him before him. He said henceforth he's going to hold, on every quarter, he's going to hold such kinds of holders.
Okay, let me hold you there. Thank you. Prof, as much as we don't have all the time, can you briefly talk to, judging from the report that came from Lafia, that is Nasarawa State, power transmission and the economy in 2020, briefly?
As I said earlier, I said infrastructure is what drives the economy. Because if you look at the real meaning of infrastructure, is physical facilities that you put in place to aid efficient running of your operations. And if that is the case, how the bulk of our problem is power. If you are able to tackle the issue of power, as I said earlier, many people that are out of job, they will come back. They will come back. If you do that, many industries or many firms that have been closed before, they will come back. As you are doing that, you are creating jobs, you are generating income, and then before you know it, it will reflect on the overall economy by boosting the GDP. So, given that as it may, I would say that with the huge investment of government in power, not only power, every other infrastructure, there is a bright future for our economy. In fact, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, you know what we achieved last year? We were able to achieve almost 2% GDP growth. I can say that will be sustained, if not surpassed, this year.
Thank you very much. Sarki, give us a word of reassurance in the oil and gas sector.
Well,
for 2020.
For 2020,
shall we relapse or build on it?
No, for 2020 we are going to build on it. Mr. President has given the entire nation a booster, because that letter is a booster dose. And Mr. President, what he said about the gas, the penetration of gas, east to west to north, opening gas corridors, getting all the gas-based industry, it will definitely help in achieving the 100 million job or poverty alleviation program. Because across the value chain, the gift for 2020 is assurance that the oil and gas industry is going to be transparent through PIB, and it's going to perform through job creation and assurance that the country is prosperous, as we already see for the FID that is taken for our transition.
Okay. When you look at issues regarding the economy, even security, and indeed anti-corruption, the sectors we talked about, oil and gas, agriculture, the economy, name it, 2 hours is just not enough. Yes. I have a huge component I wanted to raise here, but quickly, let me take on Rear Admiral Dick. In conclusion, what word of assurance do you have for Nigerians regarding what the operational mandate of the Nigerian Navy is? And also, we are already in a new day, 15th of January 2020. Very significant for the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. What would you say about this day?
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that from the Mr. President's letter is clear. It's very clear what he expects of the military and what he intends to do for the military. And the Navy, of course, have tapped into it long ago. That is why I've told you of the platforms we're expecting before the end of the year. So the Navy will support the President by all means, and this will be through improved maritime security. And we expect that our operations will be much more transparent. And when we do that, through increased monitoring of the maritime environment, employing the available technology, which will ensure that our missions and patrols are done in a way that we do not waste less resources achieving success. But then we'll always ensure that we work closely with various stakeholders so that the nation will be much more prosperous. For the 15th of January, which is the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, it's a remarkable day in the life of the nation and the life of the military, because it reminds us of the sacrifice that have been made by those who had in the country before us, both those who had paid the supreme sacrifice to ensure that the nation remains together and indivisible. And we appreciate the sacrifices they have made in terms of their persons, their families, and the sacrifices that are even still made now. That even right now, people are there somewhere outside their comfort zone, ensuring that we can sleep with our eyes closed. So I wish the Armed Forces the best of 2020 celebrations, and hope and wish that the security challenges we have will be reduced by this year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Starting from the downside of my list, Muhammad Awal, President, Paddy Rice Dealers Association of Nigeria, Predan. It was nice sharing your time with you on Tuesday Live.
Thank you.
Professor Abiodun Oluwole Folawewo, macroeconomist and development economist from the University of Benin. It was nice having you on the program.
Thank you.
I believe you still give us your time.
Anytime.
Okay. Sarki Awalu, Director, CEO, Department of Petroleum Resources. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
And Rear Admiral Tari Wirio Dick, Chief of Training and Operations, Naval Headquarters. It was nice having you on Tuesday Live tonight.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. That's it on the program tonight. We looked at part 2 of Mr. President's letter to Nigerians, a sectoral projection. If you were there on part 1, we went through sectors, and today we focus basically on maritime, oil and gas, the agriculture, and indeed the economy. Thanks for your calls, thanks for your tweets, and also on behalf of all of us, thanks for watching.